In this unit, we're going to talk about graphing inverses, and we're going to talk a little bit about inverse equations and how the equations and graphs work together. But for today, it's really a review of what we did in the very first unit of this school year. When we were talking about transforming functions, we talked about different things that we could do with symmetry, and one of them was making a graph symmetric to the line y equals x. And we did this exact same lesson. So I'm going to write up here symmetry to y equals x, because that's what we did before. And in order to make a graph symmetric to the line y equals x, we reversed the points. We made the x's the y's and the y's the x's. And so that's what we're going to do today. So this is very much review. When we were doing this before, we said we wanted to pick some points. So I'm going to always pick the points where they change direction, so like here and here, but also where they cross the x and the y axis. I'm going to pick one more. Is there a good solid point? Maybe not. There's not a good even point, so we'll just go with those. Okay, so we've got over here -6, -3, -5, 0. -6, -3, -5, 0, -4, +3, and then we've got -2, 0, and 0, -3, and then let's see, let's just call it 1.5, 1.5, 0. Alright, so I wrote all of those things down here in my chart, so you may want to copy them to the chart. And so what we're talking about today is called an inverse equation, and for an inverse equation, we are going to switch or reverse x and y. And this is the notation. F -1 of x is the notation for the inverse. So these are going to be -3, 0, 3, 0, -3, 0, -6, -5, -4, -2, 0, 1.5. All right, then we just re-sketch those points. So I'm going to erase these numbers so my graph doesn't look quite so jumbled whenever we get all these points on here, because we're going to graph these on the same graph. All right, so we've got -3, -6, -3, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0, -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, -4, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, -4, 0, -2, -3, 0, and then 0, 1.5. All right, and just as we did before, we want to connect these points together. So I don't really have a good straight edge. This is a card that seems handy, so I'm going to use it. So we're going to connect them in the order we drew them down. So these, and these, and then this one. So our new graph is my blue graph here, which is my inverse graph. And down at the bottom it says, is this blue graph a function? Well, a function would pass the vertical line test, and obviously there are several places in here that would not pass the vertical line test. So no, it is not a function. And then it says, are the two graphs symmetric to each other? Well, we learned that earlier in the year. Yes, they are. They are symmetric to the line y equals x. And if we go back up to our graph, we can see that symmetry. If you kind of turn your graph sideways, you can see that they're the same across the line y equals x. All right, so this one's going to be a pretty easy homework lesson. Just pick points. Remember, pick all of your points where they change direction and your x and y intercepts, and maybe a couple of other points along each of the lines. You don't have to overdo it, but for most of the graphs, you're going to need probably 4 or 5 points at least.